Seam heads, start cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants Warm-Up.
Way back there. Goodbye!
On the sports leader.
Here's Wynn with the runner going, and a bouncer over the mound toward the middle. Behind second, Adames has it, and the throw to first, just in time. So the Giants have won their 6th game in a row.
We are back. What's going on, folks? Kerry Crowley hanging out with you Saturday afternoon of Labor Day weekend. It is a beautiful day in the city by the bay. Giants and Orioles coming your way at 4:15 p.m. Pacific time today from Oracle Park. And for the next 3 hours and 15 minutes, we will take you all the way up to first pitch, talking Giants baseball, the season to date, what you would like to see over the final 27 games of the season, and what this 6-game win streak, if anything, means to you, means to the San Francisco Giants, and means to the future of this franchise that you followed all season long. It is a privilege to be with you today. Always fun to do these holiday weekend shows. Raph and I will be hanging out Saturday, Sunday, and of course, Monday when the Giants head to Coors Field to take on the Rockies. That first pitch coming your way at 1:10 p.m. Pacific time out there in Denver. So we've got a jam-packed weekend on the airwaves, and we've also got wide open phone lines. 415-808-5627, 415-808-KNBR is our number. We would love to hear from you this afternoon. Your thoughts on the 6-game win streak and your thoughts really on what the Giants are learning about this team this week. Whether you have takeaways from the core players' sudden revival, sudden resurgence. Rafael Devers with a strong week. Willie Adames with a great performance once again last night following the 2-home-run effort to lead the Giants on Thursday. Matt Chapman having a solid week back from the injured list. Whether it's the young players, be it Luis Matos, who had a 4-hit night last night and has been red hot since coming back from the IL. Drew Gilbert contributing with a couple of doubles in last night's win, or a pitching staff that is just falling apart, and the Giants still managing to win as pitchers go down. Randy Rodriguez gets the brutal news yesterday that multiple doctors have recommended Tommy John surgery. In all likelihood, Rodriguez will have the procedure to repair that torn UCL, and that in all likelihood will mean that he will not pitch in 2026. A devastating blow to a Giants rotation and a Giants bullpen, this pitching staff as a whole, that was going to rely on Rodriguez to be one of its key arms next season. The Giants had already traded away Tyler Rogers at the deadline. He's a pending free agent. Camilo Doval is a New York Yankee under team control for the next few years. Rodriguez was projected alongside Ryan Walker to be one of the high leverage arms entering next season. And now the Giants have to figure out another course of action. But what do they have to figure out in the final 27 games of this season? They're 67-68. This is a team with 27 games to go that is 6 out of the wild card hunt. So no, I'm not going to sit here this weekend unless the Giants magically cut things down to 4 games by Monday and say that this team is back in it. They're not. Buster Posey admitted that earlier this week with Murph and Marcus, that it's kind of passed them by. They played way too poorly in June, July, and August. And I don't want to be a damper and end the conversation before it can really begin, because the Giants could win 4, 5, 6 more in a row and make things interesting. The schedule is pretty light right now. Take on the Baltimore Orioles for 2 more and then 3 at Coors Field against a Rockies team that's streaming toward 110 losses. So, no, they're not completely out of it, but mathematically speaking, we should focus our attention elsewhere. And the place that I want to start this afternoon's show is with the performance of first baseman Dominic Smith in last night's ballgame. I think Smith has been one of the best stories of the 2025 San Francisco Giants. And sitting here on Saturday, August 30th, I didn't anticipate saying that way back in spring training when Smith was playing for the AAA affiliate of the New York Yankees, when he was not on the radar at all for a team that was committed to Lamont Wade Jr. and Wilmer Flores sharing reps over at first base when Rafael Devers was still a Boston Red Sox. But this is why we watch baseball. We watch baseball because it surprises us, because it keeps us entertained, because the storylines that unfold over a 162-game season are so compelling that they continue to draw us back in, even in the Giants' lowest moments. There are those of us who never tune them out. And in their greatest moments, in their biggest highs, they packed the stadium, 40,000 plus. And even with a sub 500 record, coming into last night's game at 66 and 68, the Giants had 40,000 strong at Oracle Park, and it was the place to be. Labor Day weekend in San Francisco, a beautiful, beautiful weekend from a weather standpoint, and everyone wanted a ticket to go see a third-place baseball team. It's not going anywhere. It speaks to the magic that happens when you've got a season that's interesting, entertaining, compelling, when you've got players who are stable forces, when Rafael Devers is a big draw. People want to see Willie Adames and Matt Chapman. And when you've got this beautiful, beautiful waterfront ballpark that continues to draw in fans 25 years after it first opened, and Kevin Elster hit 3 home runs for the Los Angeles Dodgers in a game that we will never forget. Remember, the Giants were awful at home during that first homestand in the year 2000. My, how times have changed. 2010, 2012, 2014, they had the blueprint to winning at Oracle Park. 20 of their 25 seasons they played in San Francisco, they've been over 500 at home. And even with their 15 losses in 17 games from a stretch from July to August, this team is still over 500 at home this season. Still could go 21 for 26. They finish strong against teams like the Orioles, the Cardinals, the Rockies, and of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers. So I mentioned Dom Smith, and I think that he is one of the most fascinating players on this 2025 San Francisco Giants ball club, in part because he was never supposed to be a member of the San Francisco Giants. And if you peek into this team's immediate future, 2026 spring training, he probably shouldn't be a part of the big picture for next year. You've got Rafael Devers slated to play first base and DH. Mammoth power. You're tied to Devers for the next 8 years, and you're going to pay him $240+ million over that time frame. Your top prospect has pretty much all the same attributes. Bryce Eldridge will turn 21 in the month of October. Light tower power, tearing it up at AAA Sacramento. First base DH type. Also, like Devers, hits left-handed. Is there a spot on the 2026 San Francisco Giants for a player like Dominic Smith, who plays excellent defense over at first base, who makes a ton of contact? And we saw that in last night's ball game. 2 for 3, a walk, a splash hit, a phenomenal evening for Smith, who's now hitting .284 with a .753 OPS. He is exactly the type of player that fits the prototype of what the Giants are looking to do at Oracle Park. Play great defense, make solid contact, and play sound fundamental baseball. Run the bases well. Hit a sac fly, which he did early in last night's ball game. And yet, as you start to project out for next season, I think this would be one of the toughest questions for Buster Posey and Zach Manassian as to whether to offer Dominic Smith a contract for next year. Because you look at his major league track record, and very little would indicate that Smith is going to continue this type of a tear in San Francisco in 2026. You look at what he's done, what he's meant to different clubs, the big league level, and really, since 2021, Smith has been on a downward trajectory. There's the belief that he peaked in 2020 with the Mets when he received MVP votes, but hey, Mike Yastrzemski got MVP votes that year. It was a different kind of a season. You need to prove that you can sustain things over 162. Smith hasn't really done that in the last 4 seasons, but he has found a comfort zone in San Francisco, and I think in large part because his skill set fits this ballpark and fits this team's philosophy and ideology of what they want to be. When you make good contact, when you play solid defense, things are going to work out for you. And it's really a tough decision for Buster and for Zach as they weigh the makeup of this 26 roster. And it's why I do think there still can be a spot for Dominic Smith. It's why I do think that a player who trained over the course of the offseason, as he told John Shea, the San Francisco Standard, to become an outfielder, to prove that he could be positionally flexible, versatile, that he can help the Giants in a few different ways. Even if it doesn't mean regular bats at first base, even if it doesn't mean regular bats as a DH, maybe the Giants carry him as some sort of a 26th man on a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. And here's the parallel that I would draw with Dom Smith. And it's not perfect. It's not clean. But I think that there's a real parallel to Dominic Smith this season and the early portion of next season to Benji Molina and what he meant to the 2009 San Francisco Giants and the 2010 San Francisco Giants in some down years for this ball club. 06, 07, 08, when the pitching was coming through the farm system, but the hitting just couldn't catch up. Benji was a stable force, a steady presence behind the plate, beloved by teammates, beloved by fans. It's hard to win the Willie Mack Award twice. Dominic Smith's not going to win it this year, but Benji did it. Benji was the steadying presence in the clubhouse. He was someone who was widely appreciated by his teammates. And so the Giants brought him into 2010 knowing that Buster Posey would ultimately supplant him as the starting catcher. They knew that they probably couldn't carry both Benji and Buster and make things work on the 25-man active roster back at that point. But there was still value in having Benji around for the first 2 months of the season before Brian Sabian decided to call up Buster Posey to the Major League roster. And I don't want to draw a comparison between Buster Posey and what he meant to the 2010 San Francisco Giants and Bryce Eldridge and what he could mean to the 2026 San Francisco Giants. Bryce Eldridge is his own player. Buster Posey is a Hall of Famer. There's a distinct difference in expectations. Buster was largely expected to save the franchise. Eldridge is a light tower power, all-star caliber talent, but we've really yet to see the type of dominance at the minor league level that Buster displayed in his brief stints with the likes of AAA Fresno back at the time. I do think, though, that Eldridge would benefit from opening next season in the minor leagues. He needs to refine his defense. There's some holes in his swing. And the longer that he sees higher level minor league pitching, I think the more equipped he will be to lead the Giants forward and come up to the big league level and thrive when he does ultimately arrive in San Francisco. You remember when Buster came up in 2010? The man hit over 300. He was a force behind the plate because of his great defense. He was excellent in the right-handed batter's box because he'd seen high-level college pitching, he'd seen high-level minor league pitching, and he'd proven at each and every level that he could conquer it all. Bryce Eldridge is hitting a ton of home runs at AAA Sacramento, but I don't think he's quite conquered AAA. I don't see 1,000 or an 1,100 OPS, an average well above 300. I do see a high strikeout total. I think that when you call Eldridge up, you want him to stay at the big league level for a long time. And so, he could break camp with the opening day roster next year. He might be among the 26 best players, not just next year when the Giants open the season on Wednesday, March 25th against the Yankees, but right now. But I still think that this team must do right by Bryce and develop him and ensure that when he comes up, he is ready to thrive and succeed, and he never needs another trip back to AAA Sacramento. So all of that leads around in a roundabout way to Dominic Smith and the role that he can fill. A 2013 first-round draft pick out of high school. Smith had a highly touted minor league career, came up to the Mets in 2017 at the age of 22, and didn't thrive right away. 2018, struggled again. 2019, still couldn't quite find his footing, but the contact was finally there. He finally emerged, and then all of a sudden, the Mets had Pete Alonso come along. And in 2019, Smith was no longer going to be the first baseman for the New York Mets. They used him in left field. They used him as a DH in some games. But ultimately, he never really had the shot to prove himself. And so he has had to find a way, find a path as a backup player, as a platoon bat, as someone who doesn't get regular opportunities. And he's found a way to thrive in that capacity. And I hand it to Smith because he is now 30 years old, 9 years into a major league career that didn't evolve the way that he anticipated way back in 2013 when he was a first-round draft pick. But he is still grinding. He's still working hard, and he is still trying to find his footing. And I think in San Francisco, the skill set that he brings to the table, there's value in that right now for the San Francisco Giants. We saw it on display on Friday night, and we can see it on display early next season. I think the Giants could do far worse than bringing back a veteran who plays great defense, who makes solid contact, and who's well-liked in the clubhouse. Yes, they've got Rafael Devers. He is the future as a first baseman and a DH, as well as being the present. Yes, they've got Bryce Eldridge. He is the future as a first baseman and DH. That's two players manning two positions. But Dominic Smith, he can help. They just have to get creative and think exactly how. The challenge is, do you put him in the outfield right now? Do you spend games in September watching him in left, watching him in right, seeing how he runs. He insists he can play the position, as he told John Shea, the San Francisco Standard, a great piece that came out this morning. But do the Giants believe that? Is Smith actually capable of doing so? Because it's been a while since they stuck him in the outfield. Now, we may find out next spring, because for the rest of this season, the Giants also need to take a look at Luis Matos. They also need to take a look at Drew Gilbert. They also need to continue playing Jung-Hoo Lee and giving him as many opportunities to continue getting settled as possible, because Lee is wrapping up his first full season at the major league level, and this is someone who is a key part of the Giants' core moving forward. Their everyday center fielder, potential everyday leadoff man. If he proves he can hit velocity and high velocity spin, which has troubled him at times this season, but he's had a better second half. He's been more consistent. So there's all of these puzzle pieces, all of these moving pieces that the Giants are trying to fit into a nice, compact 26-player board for next season. I'd love to hear from you. What would you do? Do you give Dom Smith the one-year deal, understanding that you could trade him in June? Do you give Dom Smith the one-year deal, understanding that, hey, there's no guarantee that Eldridge and Devers stay healthy all season long? There could be a path to having great depth at the first base position. Do you bring him into spring training expecting him to try to win a job on the 26-man roster as a corner outfielder type, knowing that, the odds aren't great because you've got to prioritize other opportunities for other players? Or do you simply move on? Do you say, thanks for the nice year. Thanks for reestablishing your career here in San Francisco. Thanks for filling the void left when Lamont Wade Jr. simply wasn't good enough the first 2 months of the season, and coming in out of the Yankees organization in early June and helping the Giants in a position of need. And give them the handshake and say, good luck elsewhere. I think it's a big conundrum for the San Francisco Giants, and one they'll probably spend a lot of time sorting through over the next few weeks, next few months, as they start to think about the makeup of this 26-man roster. I am Kerry Crowley. It is Labor Day weekend here in the city by the bay. A beautiful Labor Day weekend. If you're out on the roads, get to your destination safely. Thank you so much for tuning in to KNBR. We are now less than 3 hours until first pitch out at Oracle Park. I'm expecting another 40,000 plus out there at the ballpark. Couldn't think of a more picturesque day in our city by the bay. Raf Corral behind the glass. Give him a call. 415-808-KNBR is the number. We're going to be spending a lot of time together over the next few hours, a lot of time together over the next few days. It's been so fun this week, and I can't wait to keep doing this. Your call's on the other side, right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
1 pitch. There's a high drive to right field. Way, way back there. Still going. That one is wet. Hello, San Francisco Bay. Dom Smith launches one into the bay. And now it is 9-4 Giants.
It's something that you dream of as a kid. You first start playing this game, I think we all dream of playing in the big leagues and dream of playing in the playoffs, the World Series, and one of the most iconic things in all of sports is seeing guys hit balls into that water, into McCovey Cove, and just the list of guys who've done it for this franchise. And some legendary players. So I got the call to put on this uniform. I knew it was something that I wanted to do. Something that, I think, like I said, every kid growing up kind of dreamed of those moments. So for it to actually happen, it's very surreal. And something I'm going to cherish, forever. And, look forward to trying to get a few more out there.
We're getting you in the mood for a crazy crab sandwich, some garlic fries, a cha-cha bowl, and some orange and black baseball. KNBR's Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the sports leader.
A pretty sweet answer there from Dom Smith on his first career splash hit. Something you dream about as a baseball player. Someone who understands the history of the game, what Oracle Park means to the greater sport of baseball. That was awesome to see Dom Smith reflecting on the home run. It helped power the Giants to a 15-8 win over the Baltimore Orioles, their 6th consecutive victory. They are sitting at 67-68 as we head into Saturday's game, an opportunity for the Giants to take this series against the Orioles. Kerry Crowley back here with you on Giants Warm-Up. We're taking you up to first pitch. Pre-game show at 3:15. First pitch out at Oracle Park, 4:15. Carson Seymour, the young right-hander, will throw it. We're opening up the phone lines right now. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Send out to our friend Tony in Santa Rosa. Tony in Santa Rosa. You're on Giants Warm-Up. Tony, how's it going today?
Crowley, what's going down? Happy Labor Day weekend, man.
Indeed. Happy Labor Day weekend. Couldn't be more beautiful, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, I figured we had a few minutes. Figured we'd talk about the bipolar Giants.
It's a new story every week for this team. A new story every week, a new story every month,
the most bipolar team ever. Look, you're right about Bryce Eldridge. Like, they can't make the same mistake they made with Matos. Do you remember Matos when Matos was on fire last year and he got sent down?
I do.
On fire, right? But they sent him down. Giants have done a terrible job developing. Look, Bart, right? Another guy. They've done a terrible job. Luciano, these guys, I think these guys have high-level talent and have a high ceiling, but the Giants have done a poor job. And look, it's ride and die Giants guy. But
yeah.
They've done a poor job developing these guys, and it's the up and down, up and down, up and down. That it just leads to poor development.
Yeah.
Guys to look out for me, like Matos, I think needs a really strong lift this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he and Schmidt.
Yeah, absolutely. Just keep playing Casey Schmidt at second base the rest of the season, right?
Gosh, do you have to, right?
Yeah.
Gilbert, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're getting to the point where it's kind of tough to make a call on Gilbert because, yes, he goes 2 for 5 last night, drives in 2 runs, a couple of nice pieces of hitting, but the average sitting at 139, the OPS at 417, not the start that you would have expected to his major league career, and yet there is value in having a left-handed hitting, solid defensive player out in right field. It's just a question of can he be more than a platoon guy next season? And do you need to go out this offseason and fortify right field? And I think regardless of how Matos and Gilbert perform down the stretch here, Tony, I think they need to go and they need to get another outfielder. And whether that's a guy who signs a multi-year contract, a guy who signs a 1-year deal, whether they trade for someone under team control, I just think they need one more proven veteran in the outfield, even if you plan on Matos and Gilbert being a part of this team next year, because the odds of both of them being great next season simply aren't that good.
Slipped in that. Matos, so I don't know. See, oh God, Matos is so weird. It's a weird conversation because I do think he has the ability. I think it's there. But you're right. You're right. They're one strong outfielder away from being really damn good.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, and I also think I think they're at least a starting pitcher or two, and then 3 more relievers away from being really good. I think the lineup could really use just one more solid hitter, and you probably find that guy in the outfield. But I think that headed into 26, I've got more questions about pitching now than I did at any point during the first half of this season, just because of the way that this staff's kind of fallen apart.
Lucchesi looks like he got some nasty stuff, though.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised. I mean, I played. I don't know if you're. I played for the Western Baseball League and played for Kevin Mitchell.
Yeah.
I thought, but played 2 years minor league, independent ball, but Lucchesi stuff looks dirty. I was actually kind of surprised. I didn't realize he had that kind of stuff.
It's different. It's a funky release. It's different stuff. It's the curve, which no one throws. It's the left-handed motion. And I do think, he was brought up as a starter in San Diego, but very clearly a reliever to me. And I think that you can get by as a multi-inning guy, maybe a 4, 5, 6 out guy if you're Joey Lucchesi into the future. So he's someone that I probably would keep around for next year.
No, he's just funky enough. He hides the ball well and kind of like that lefty 3/4 kind of swing,
Mm-hmm.
But I agree, man.
Yeah, I appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much, Tony. Good stuff. Good stuff on what you'd like to see out of the Giants moving forward. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Phone lines are open right now. We'd love for you to call in and share your thoughts on what you'd like to see for the Giants down the stretch here. Let's go to Mike in San Francisco. Mike in San Francisco, you're on Giants Warm Up. Mike, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Kerry?
Oh, doing great on our end. It's a beautiful day. We got a nice 6-game win streak to talk about. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, there really is. They're playing really well right now. But I just wanted to talk about the defense. Was it mostly? It really depends to me on what the Giants do next year to make the team better.
Yeah.
Are they really wanting to be a pitching and defensive team first? Or are they going, maybe we need to do hitting and pitching and maybe not really concern ourselves too much with defense? I think it really depends on what they really want to focus on as to where they need to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what I would do if I was in Buster's position, but obviously I'm not. So.
Well, what would you do, Mike?
Well, first of all, was it Elliot Ramos, good hitter? I think he's a really good guy. I don't see him ever becoming a great defensive outfielder.
Yeah.
I think they should package Elliot Ramos with another couple of minor league guys and go out and get Stephen Kwan from the Cleveland Guardians.
Okay.
Stick him out there in left field. And then they need to go and they need to get another starting pitcher and they need to get 2 or 3 relievers.
Okay.
And I think you need to keep Dominic Smith. I mean, he's heads and tails over everybody else that we have playing first baseman as a defensive first baseman. We don't have anybody even close to him in our system. And then Bryce Eldridge, he might come up and he might be a 28, 29 home run guy who hits 85, 90 RBIs and strikes out 170 times. I mean, do we not already have enough guys that strike out a whole bunch of times already?
I mean, that is one of the big issues with this team, and they're not in the top 10 in strikeout rate in Major League Baseball, but it feels that way. And I think for the home ballpark that they play in, one of the primary points of emphasis, Mike, this offseason has got to be finding players who make a lot more contact than the Giants currently do. I think that's a fatal flaw of this roster, and one of the reasons that they took a downturn during the middle of the summer. They just started striking out at a rate that was far too often.
Yeah. I mean, and then, not having starting pitching and then Eric Miller going down, Randy Rodriguez going down, trading Tyler Rogers, trading Doval. I mean, just, our pitching got decimated, and now it's even worse with those 2 guys injured and Rodriguez not coming back next year, most likely. So I mean, I think they need to go get 3 really good relievers.
Yeah.
and they need to get another starting pitcher. And then they really need to decide, do we really want to be a defensive first team, or do we want to be, I'm also thinking too, was it the Cubs second baseman or the Brewers second baseman? Either one of those guys would help our defense tremendously. And then Casey Schmidt could be the fourth infielder, and he could go all around the diamond. And anybody gets hurt or they need a day off, Casey Schmidt could be that guy.
Yeah.
We need a gold glover at second baseman. And both of those guys, Nico Horner, and I forget the name of the guy from Milwaukee.
I mean, Bryce Terang was playing a lot of second. Terang was playing a lot of second base from Milwaukee when you saw him. They've also played Caleb Durbin there. Monasterio's played a little bit there. They've rotated, but I think Terang's the guy that you're talking about because that's who the Giants saw the most.
Yes, Terang is the guy I'm talking about.
He's elite.
Terang or Nico
he's
Horner.
fantastic.
If you got either one of those guys, we have all of a sudden we have excellent defense. We have some younger guys, and we have guys that can hit a little bit too.
No, well said. Well said. I appreciate. I appreciate the phone call. Appreciate the contribution to the program, and good stuff. Nico Horner's an interesting player that you mentioned because he's going to be making $12 million next season for the Chicago Cubs. He signed an extension early on in his career. He'll become a free agent after the 2026 season, but he grew up an A's fan. Grew up in California, I believe. He grew up in Oakland. And he went to Stanford for college. He's an interesting player because he does provide Gold Glove defense. He's hitting .292, makes a ton of contact. He's got 5.3 WAR. And I know that a lot of people will call up and say that WAR doesn't matter. It's not a great evaluator. I put a lot of stock into what Nico Horner has done this season for the Chicago Cubs. And that's not to say that Casey Schmidt hasn't earned the job at second base. I do think that Casey Schmidt has earned more opportunities down the stretch. And I think the Giants would be just fine headed into next season if Casey Schmidt was their starting second baseman. But I also believe that this team, one of the reasons that it didn't perform well in the middle of the summer is when key players went down. Their depth was tested in ways that exposed the fact that the highest levels of this minor league system wasn't able to backfill the roster. And so you had guys playing out of position. You had guys who simply weren't as good as the starters and couldn't come up and replace them in an adequate way. And the Giants got exposed a little bit. So if they were to make some sort of a deal this offseason for Nico Horner, and who knows if the Cubs would ever make him available, I highly doubt it. He is incredibly valuable to Chicago, and you're not going to give up a second baseman like that. But, say Chicago wants to save $12 million next season. Say they've got Owen Cassey coming through the system. There's a number of young infielders coming through that Chicago farm system. Maybe Horner becomes a trade candidate this offseason. They look to completely reinvent things. And maybe that slides Schmidt to the bench, and maybe that is the best iteration of the San Francisco Giants. Let's go out to Alvin in San Francisco. Alvin in San Francisco, you're on Giants Warm Up. Alvin, what's going on this afternoon?
Oh, good afternoon. There's nothing much. I was listening to your program, and I really agree with you with Dominic Smith. I really enjoyed the way he hits on opportunity. He knows how to guide a bat to the right direction, so that way it gets into the open spot. And so I just enjoy the world of Dominic Smith. He is like, I hate to see what's the guy who left for the Giants.
Lamont Wade Jr. is who he replaced.
Yeah, Lamont Jr. Yeah, but I thought Dominic is doing a great job. I think he's going to fulfill that position in first base adequately.
Yeah.
My question is, as far as how to make the team better for next year, I was thinking, Patrick Bailey needs to, during the offseason, needs to work on his hitting. And if it doesn't show any improvement next year during spring training and the first month of April, I think we need to find a catcher who can hit and catch.
Yeah, no question about that. That, to me, Alvin, has got to be a top priority. I don't think the Giants can win if Bailey is hitting in 130 or 140 games next season. I think they need a better complementary catcher to Bailey, someone who can play the first 6 innings, and Bailey can come in and be the defensive replacement. The guy who will become a free agent this offseason, JT Realmuto of the Philadelphia Phillies. He'll be on the older side. He's going to hit free agency around 34 years old, play next season at the age of 35. I think he's someone who would absolutely fit. Strong defender. A bat has fallen off in recent years, but it's still a much more significant bat than Patrick Bailey brings to the ballpark on a daily basis.
Would they be asking for a lot of money, though? That's the question. It's all about the money.
Yeah, and I think the Giants need to invest money in the catcher position, if we're being honest. I think that Realmuto will command a pretty good salary. He's a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove Award winner.
Right.
But, you know, I think that the Giants can afford to spend $10 to $15 million in the catcher position this offseason. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they gave JT Realmuto a 2-year $28 or 2-year $30 million deal to help the Giants at a position that has just been kind of a black hole offensively for much of the last few years.
Yes, and that's true. And I think that's a great thought that you put. I'm going to put that in my database in my mind, and I'll keep that back, bring it back to you later on.
There we go. Hey, I appreciate it, Alvin. Thank you so much for the phone call. Good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, great stuff. 415-808-KNBR is the number. We would love for more contributions to the program today. Some great callers so far. We're talking Dominic Smith. We're talking Patrick Bailey. Talking about the future of the San Francisco Giants. Guy who I want to zero in on next segment, Luis Matos, and what he has done since being recalled from AAA Sacramento. You're listening to Giants Warm Up. We're taking you all the way up until the Giants pregame show at 3:15. First pitch at 4:15. And don't forget Extra Innings with Bill Lasky this weekend. He's got 3 shows, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. He's got a great guest list as well, and I'll give you that on the other side. You're listening to KNBR, the sports leader.
scored the 7th run later in that inning. Now he belts one high and deep, left center field, way back there. Adios, pelota! A shot deep into the bleachers in left center field for Matos. 10-6 Giants.
While Bob Melvin preps the men in orange and black, we'll prep you for today's ball game as our Giants warm-up continues on the Sports Leader.
8th home run of the season for Luis Matos in last night's ball game. Giants have homered in 12 consecutive games, their longest streak since 2021, and they've hit 24 home runs during this binge. Unexpected, I must admit. This was not a team that's lived and died by the home run all season long, but it's a welcome sight for a lot of Giants fans, and certainly the fact that Luis Matos has contributed quite a bit during this stretch is really, really important. Kerry Crowley back here with you on Giants Warm-Up. Getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. First pitch coming your way at 4:15 p.m. Pacific time this afternoon. Carson Seymour will throw it. Should be a Chamber of Commerce day out at Oracle Park, but we're going to continue to take your phone calls, thoughts on the state of the San Francisco Giants. Steve in Manteca. Steve in Manteca, you're on Giants Warm-Up. Steve, how's it going?
Good, Kerry. How are you?
Oh, doing great on my end. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, interesting show. Thank you. I have two topics, one kind of bleeding into the other. Start with something that doesn't get talked about much, but just I don't know what's going on in the corporate offices of the Giants right now. I'm a long-time fan, and I don't feel any connection to this team. There's no marketing. I work in marketing. There's no marketing of the personalities and the players like there used to be done. You know, the marketing the telenovela with Posey and Romo, or the Brandons, or the baby giraffe, or I just don't feel any connection to any of these players.
That's interesting because I understand where you're coming from, and I think a lot of what you're saying is true. And then I look at the attendance totals. Like they had 40,000 in the ballpark last night. They're on their way to 2.8, 2.9 million. This is a season where the Giants' attendance has really rebounded, and very clearly, like, TV ratings are up. A lot of people are going to the ballpark. They're experiencing the San Francisco Giants. They're building connections back with this team. And I think some of what we feel, Steve, is that the Giants essentially took 5-6 years off from this. During the Farhan Zaidi era, there was almost no way to connect with a team where there was one face of the franchise, that was Logan Webb, and everyone else was a moving piece on their way in, on their way out. No one signed to a long-term contract, no top prospects coming up and really solidifying themselves as part of the future. So I think this is a multi-year build, and it wouldn't shock me if you started to see a lot more of that in 26 and 27 as these guys in Devers, in Chapman, in Adames, and Lee really settle in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's a good point around the attendance. This then leads into my other, so I guess I'm speaking more on a personal level here. It's a pretty dangerous thing when the Giants and A's are playing at the same time lately. As in the near past, the boredom level has kind of risen with the Giants. I've done a lot of flipping over to the A's and gotten more acquainted with them. And boy, would I like to see, we're talking about making the team better next year. Would I ever like to see the Giants just basically back up a shopping cart to the A's right now? I mean, They've got players on the infield. They got players in the outfield that could all make an impact.
I mean, the crazy thing is, for the last decade, the A's have done such a good job of drafting and developing talent. And yeah, we know the story. They trade them all away. They give them away, make bad deals. But that young team over there right now, with Nick Kurtz over at first base and DHing, with Jacob Wilson making all the contact he's making, still hitting over 300, Lawrence Butler tracking down balls in center field. And I know that he's been, frustrating for some. You look at that team, or Denzel Clark tracking down balls in center field, I should say. Lawrence Butler playing a lot of right field right now. They're fun. The A's are fun this year. And it's so sad what's happened to that franchise, because the young talent, their ability to just draft and develop these players never ceases to go away, despite what happens to the rest of that franchise.
Yeah, and you've even missed a couple of. Geloff is back now, who was great before this year. I think he was hurt.
Yeah.
He's another one that could play in the middle of the infield. And then you've got a guy like, I'm from Turlock, so I'm partial to
Soderstrom.
Soderstrom.
Yeah. Yeah, of
And
course.
you put his numbers up against Devers right now, and they're pretty comparable.
Well,
and you hear nothing about Soderstrom.
Well, you know, the guy whose numbers I compare him to are Patrick Bailey, and it's because they were in the same draft, 2020. Soderstrom was coming out of high school, and Bailey was coming out of college. And at the time, it was widely believed that Soderstrom would be a catcher. Of course, he's now been moved to first base, then moved into the outfield and kind of a corner outfield DH type. Nevertheless, who would you rather have right now if you're the San Francisco Giants? The guy who went 13th overall to you, or the guy who was drafted in the 20s by the A's that year, Tyler Soderstrom? No question in my mind is Soderstrom.
Yeah, that's and the nice thing there too is beyond all those other players we're mentioning for the A's, Soderstrom he can fill a lot of the things that you're talking about here. Kurt's got it hurt, and so they plug him in at first base. And
Yeah.
I don't know where his catching's at now. It's been
Well, yeah, I think once you leave the position, you're never coming back to the position. That's the reality for those guys.
But, my point just being, Kerry, I'd love to see a nice shopping trip out to, I guess you can't say across the bay anymore, but
Up I-80. Up I-80.
I-80, I-5, yep. And so that's it. Thanks for taking
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the call, Steve. Good stuff. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Unfortunately, the Giants and the A's have almost no history of meaningful trades with each other. The A's and John Fisher are not doing deals with the San Francisco Giants. They just don't want to be embarrassed. And I get it. Like, the Giants and the Dodgers aren't going to do deals. I talked about this with Derek Papa earlier this week in the NFL. The 49ers and Raiders aren't doing deals. Like, you don't do deals with a certain number of teams. And that is true for the Giants and the Athletics. There was the Birch Smith trade a few years ago, but not exactly the high-profile guys the A's have now that the Giants would love to have in their organization. We got to take a quick break here. More on the other side, your phone calls as well. We'll give you the lineups. We'll give you scores from last night's ball games all around Major League Baseball. A lot more coming up on Giants Warm Up on the Sports Leader.
2-strike pitch. Swing and a line drive, base hit left field. Coming around third. Here is Gilbert heading home, and a wild arcing throw to the Giants on deck circle. And now nobody's at the plate. Here comes the throw from second. Back to the plate. Not in time. And Willie Adames scores all the way from first base as the Orioles collapse defensively.
Yeah, look, all those things add up to kind of who Willie is, and both he and Matty had an eye on that. If it wasn't going home, then he was going to try to cut. He's done it twice, I think, in the last couple weeks or so, that same type of play. So it's just a heads up baseball player, knows the situation, knows what's going on, and his head's on a swivel, and those things end up being big because they create a lot of excitement, and at the time that run was big.
It's almost time for hot dogs, peanuts, cold beers, and orange and black baseball. Our Giants warm-up rolls on the sports leader.
You don't have to be the fastest runner in baseball to make a difference. You don't have to have a sprint speed that grades out elite. You just have to play the game in a heads-up fashion and make the smart play. And a couple of times over the last few weeks, Willie Adames has shown the San Francisco Giants the template, and he did so again in last night's ballgame, scoring when the Baltimore Orioles failed to cover home plate, exposing another team's miscue. These are the type of plays that happened against the San Francisco Giants all summer long. These are the types of plays that led to the downfall, the collapse of a team that ultimately traded away talent at the deadline instead of brought in talent on July 31st. But Willie Adames is showing over the last few weeks, really since the All-Star break, what kind of a model he can be for the rest of his teammates and why you don't need to be the fastest runner to make a difference on the base pass. The Giants are probably never going to be the fastest team in baseball with the core as currently constructed. They've got Rafael Devers, not exactly a burner. They've got Matt Chapman, heads-up base runner, above average runner. But again, is he ever going to steal you 30 bags? Probably not. Willie Adames, same is true. Is he going to steal you 30-35 over the course of 162? I don't see it. Maybe Jung-Hoo Lee, if he becomes more comfortable stealing bases, something we haven't seen a whole lot of this season, he could be a 30 stolen base player. But really the challenge for the Giants, and Buster Posey spoke about this earlier this week with Murph and Marcus, is making heads-up moves on the base pass, going first to third on singles to center and singles to right, going second to home whenever you have the opportunity to do so. I saw a stat a few weeks ago floating around on social media of the number of players a team has had go from second to third on base hits to the outfield this season instead of second to home. And the Giants were at the very top of that list. They've just made far too many miscues. They haven't gotten great reads. This is not a team that just put pressure on opponents, and instead, that pressure has been put on them. And they collapsed under the pressure this summer in June, July, and early August, but they have turned things around this week. A strong performance against the Milwaukee Brewers, taking 2 of 3 against one of Major League Baseball's best teams, sweeping the Chicago Cubs. And by the way, that was the first time this season the Cubs have been swept in a 3-game series. Giants took it to them. And now winning 15-8 a shootout on Friday night at Oracle Park. Not exactly the fashion you anticipate the Giants winning baseball games in at Oracle, but they got the job done. It was not Robbie Ray's finest outing this season. 4 1/3, 6 hits, 6 runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. The bullpen came up big. Spencer Bivens goes 1 2/3 innings. A perfect ball. Matt Gage has been excellent from the left side. It's just replaced Eric Miller, and no, he doesn't have the same velocity, but he's got a .78 earned run average. And then Keaton Winn gives up 2 late, 3 hits allowed. He gives up 2 runs in those 2 innings, but I do want to see more of Keaton Winn. One of the reasons I want to see more of Keaton Winn, he's got 98, 99 on the fastball when he's at his best. He's got a splitter that he can throw, and I do think as the Giants start to map out their bullpen for 2026, a bullpen that in all likelihood will not include Randy Rodriguez now that he's been recommended to undergo Tommy John surgery, a bullpen that obviously won't include Camilo Doval now that he's under contract with the New York Yankees, and may not include Tyler Rogers, who does hit free agency but will cost a significant sum. And it begs the question, what are the Giants willing to spend on their bullpen? You need to figure out your internal options right now. You need to take good, long, hard looks at the likes of Jose Buto, who pitched on Thursday afternoon. You need to take good long hard looks at Matt Gage and see if he can be an answer from the left side. Joey Lucchese, see if he can be a multi-inning guy. And Keaton Wynn, who showed promise as a starter in the minor leagues coming up the Giants farm system, but dealt with some elbow issues, dealt with a wide variety of injuries and performance issues that kept him down in AAA Sacramento. And now he's getting a look at the end of the season with Rodriguez going on the IL. And he gives up 2 last night. But again, I like the pitch mix as someone who could ultimately help the San Francisco Giants out of the bullpen. So that's what this is all about. The final 27 games for the San Francisco Giants is seeing who should be a front runner for a job entering spring training. Who do you trust? Where do you need to fortify this roster? And what are the offseason priorities for this team? Because I could think of 5, 6, 7 ways that Buster Posey and Zach Manassian could improve this roster. And maybe they'll go out this offseason and execute on all 5, 6, or 7 of those holes that they need to fill. But in all likelihood, Giants will spend money on 2 or 3 positions, try to backfill with prospects, minor league free agents, or unheralded talents at other spots. Trust internal guys who haven't necessarily taken advantage of opportunities just yet. You know, there's a debate. Do you just trust Casey Schmidt at second base a year after you just trusted Tyler Fitzgerald at second base? We saw how they came back to bite the Giants. 2 years ago, the Giants were ready to hand over the shortstop job to Marco Luciano after they cut ties with Brandon Crawford. And we all know how that worked out. Luciano has not seen a big league at bat this season, and the man's playing left field down in AAA Sacramento. Yeah, handing him shortstop, not exactly the best decision that this franchise had made. By opening day, Nick Ahmed was the shortstop. Who do you trust in the bullpen? Where do you add? Do you go out and do you get another high-leverage reliever, or do you anticipate that Buto, that Walker, that Matt Gage can take down high-leverage innings for you? Do you trust Carson Wisenhunt, Landon Roop in the rotation, understanding that Roop is coming off of an injury, that Wisenhunt still is really just a 1+ pitch guy? Or do you go out and you add 2 to 3 starting pitchers this offseason? I think that's an open question for Buster Posey and the San Francisco Giants. Is Patrick Bailey your primary catcher next year? Understanding the value that he brings to this team defensively, how important he's been for this pitching staff, while also understanding how much black hole his bat has been in this Giants lineup this season. After going 1 for 5 last night, Pat Bailey has a .210 average with a .557 OPS. That is not playable for 100+ games a season. And yet the Giants committed to it last year. They committed to it this year. And I don't think, realistically, they can do the same next year. Buster Posey was a catcher himself. He understands the value, that importance of that position better than just about anyone. He knows the Giants have got to improve there. What do you do at first base? Is Rafael Devers your everyday first baseman? Is Bryce Eldridge a DH? Does Dominic Smith have a place on this roster? That's how we open today's show. 415-808-KNBR is the number. If you have answers to any of these questions, or if you have proposed solutions to any of the problems ailing a Giants team that has underperformed this season, I would love to hear from you. Because these are the questions that are going to dominate the airwaves this offseason as you get to the general manager meetings where Posey and Zach Manassian meet with their brethren from around Major League Baseball. As you get to the winter meetings when the Giants will be, in all likelihood, pursuing free agents, talking about trades, figuring out ways to upgrade this roster. As you get past that into January, when you start to think about minor league free agents, the guys who haven't signed yet, the guys who you want to add to your active roster. The other part of all of this that I find particularly interesting is that over the last 12 months or so, the Giants have added to the farm system, the draft, through minor league signings, through minor trades, and through player development. Guys who they signed a few years ago in the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Latin America, are starting to come over to the United States, play an A-ball and play extremely well. You look at the San Jose Giants, low A-ball. They are a great team this year. They've got a number of 18, 19, 20-year-old kids mixed in with college guys who are playing really well together. They're going to start a playoff run soon. It's part of the culture in San Francisco. Winning games in the postseason, even at low levels of the minor leagues. I think that playoff run is going to be important for a particular number of the top prospects. But I mention the prospects because, for once, all of the Giants' top prospects are hitters. Bryce Eldridge, their top overall prospect, is a first baseman. Josuar Gonzalez, a shortstop. Gavin Keelan, the first-round draft pick this year, a second baseman shortstop type. Johnny Level, a shortstop. Bo Davidson, an outfielder. Dakota Jordan, an outfielder. And then Carson Wisenhunt, their top-ranked pitching prospect, is already in the big leagues. But the next 2 guys on that list, Drew Gilbert, still a prospect. Rainer Arias, an outfielder down in rookie ball, 19 years old, and he's got incredible potential. Beyond that, that's where you start to see the pitching depth show up in the minor leagues. Argenis Kayama and Kainer Martinez. I'll have to have our prospect guru, Roger Muncher, join the show next weekend to break down where the pitchers are in this Giants farm system, how far away they are, and what the Giants need to focus on this offseason as you start to think about adding depth to this pitching staff. Do you sign a one-year free agent, or do you go in big on a multi-year deal with someone that you really like and you think could be a part of this rotation, of this bullpen for a long time? 415-808-KNBR is the number. Let's go to Rick in Hayward. Rick in Hayward, you're on Giants Warm-Up. Rick, how's it going this afternoon?
Very good to talk to you. You brought up some great points that I've been debating with people online, and I look at the teams, players like Ramos, players like Casey Schmidt, players like Matos, players like Bailey. These are all team-controlled players making before arbitration salary. So with the Giants already being at $160 million for next year just with 6 players, and the first threshold is $244 million, I don't think the Giants really have more than, give or take, $40 million, $45 million to play with to sign players before maybe the deadline. Because I think Buster would keep around $20 million of the available for trade deadline deals.
Yeah.
So when you look at players like Casey Schmidt at second base, he's serviceable and he's only making $780,000. You got Ramos, who is definitely serviceable at $780,000 at about a 270 average with 20 home runs. I think the Giants really need to invest in 2 starting pitchers, a bullpen arm or 2, and then maybe a right-handed DH first baseman bat that could share time. But I don't see them doing anything historic and going after another $180 million player like they did last offseason with Adames or Devers. I think what's happening right now, especially with the CBA being the way it is, I don't think Buster or the Giants are going to do anything drastic in signing another player to that kind of a long-term deal until they get some assurances of a salary cap or know what's going on there. I think that this ownership definitely does not want to go into the tax. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
And so I honestly think that that's where we're at.
Now, I can't argue with any of that, Rick. Thank you for the phone call. I think that you made some really good points about the cost-controlled talent on this roster right now and why the Giants will probably, despite having 6, 7 areas of the roster that they could realistically upgrade, focus on spending money in 2 to 3 of those areas and get creative with some of the other areas. So you mentioned the cost-controlled talent. Someone like Elliot Ramos, I think he's going to be part of this thing next year. I think he's going to be part of the core next year, in part because he's cost-controlled, in part because he does make contact. He does hit for power, and he plays a corner. He's a homegrown player. But beyond anything, he's cost-controlled. And you look at the rest of the diamond right now, Rafael Devers earning significant money. Matt Chapman, Willie Adames earning significant money. Jung-Hoo Lee earning significant money. So the Giants have to save where they can. But with all that being said, there could be a team that's starving for hitting out there and a team that has a young pitcher that they may feel inclined to deal if they were to get a young hitter. And the Giants could theoretically make a 1-for-1 trade or tag someone along with Ramos to go out and get a starting pitcher who provides value, who is cost-controlled. I think those are deals that the Giants will probably consider this offseason. Whether or not they make them or not, they have to consider each and every opportunity to upgrade this roster. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Let's go out to Jeff in Sacramento. Jeff in Sacramento, you're on Giants Warm-Up. Jeff, how are you this afternoon?
Doing good.
What's
I have
on
a
your
question
mind?
for you. What do you think about, well, the Devers and Chapman, and as you've been talking, we have a bunch of guys that hit the same way. They can't get on base. And Eldridge and Devers, same position, same hitting style. I'm thinking that maybe the Giants are going to have to trade Eldridge to get something else. I know we're excited about him coming in the future, but they play the same place, same base, and we already have a great backup in Dom Smith. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that they will keep both of them at least for next season. And they'll determine who the better player is at first base. And whether that's Devers, who I would put my money on because he's played the field in the majors a lot longer, and Eldridge never played the field in high school. And so this is something that he's learning first base in the minor leagues on the fly. But I do think that at some point along the line, an Eldridge trade could be a part of the equation for the San Francisco Giants because of what you mentioned. They're two very similar hitters in a ballpark that's not necessarily all that kind to left-handed power. And you could get so much back in a trade for Bryce Eldridge, particularly if he has a great rookie season next year. I think that Dominic Smith is someone who they ought to offer a 1 year, $3.5, $4 million contract to, keep him around, see what you can do in terms of, I opened the show talking about how I think he can play a Benji Molina-like role, help the Giants for 60 games, and then potentially trade him if there's a glut, or if Devers is hurt, or if Eldridge is hurt, and both these guys do have a little bit of an injury history. Maybe that is something that you keep into the equation when you keep Dominic Smith on this roster by offering him a contract for next year. So I wouldn't rule out an Eldridge trade altogether, Jeff. I just think the Giants are eager to bring him up and see if he could be a superstar in San Francisco.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate the phone call. 415-808-KNBR is the number. When we come back, give you the lineups for today's ball game. We'll look at scores around Major League Baseball last night. And again, your opportunity to chime in throughout this afternoon's program. It's Labor Day weekend. If you're out on the roads, please do get to your destination safely. We appreciate you spending a beautiful Saturday with KNBR. And we hope that you get to your destination soon because, man, this weather is incredible. Even out here in our Daly City studios, there's not a cloud in the sky. Not too many days that we can say that. Heck, not too many days from our Daly City studio that we can ever see the sun. So this is incredible. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you. First pitch, 4:15. Giants pregame at 3:15 on the Sports Leader.
They reached on an error by Holiday, fueling that 7th-inning rally, and he hits a liner into left center. That's a base hit. That's into the alleyway. It rolls through, out onto the warning track. Coming to third, Matos. Matt Williams waving him home. The throw home is cut off. And Matos comes all the way around to score. 15-7 Giants. A double for Gilbert, his second double of the game.
Now back to the show built for the orange and black family. This is Giants Warm-Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
We are back. Giants Warm-Up, Kerry Crowley rolling with you until the start of our Giants pregame show, 3:15. First pitch, 4:15. The right-hander Carson Seymour will throw it. The 15th run the Giants scored last night marked their highest offensive output at Oracle Park in a decade. 2015 was the last time they scored 15 at home. And during this 6-game win streak, the Giants have outscored their opponents 47-20. 12 consecutive games they've hit a home run. Luis Matos has had a huge role in that. And 24 home runs during that stretch. It's not just one home run per day, it's two. This team hitting the long ball, which has carried it to a much better performance during the second half of August than we saw in the first half of August and the collapse throughout the month of July and toward the end of June that ultimately dictated this team's approach to the trade deadline and dictated how this season would ultimately be viewed. Giants have 27 games to polish up this record, make it look a little better than maybe it could be at this point. But again, opening the day with 27 to go, 6 out of the wild card. They're not in this playoff picture. Some people are saying, well, what would it take to get in the playoff picture? If you can get it to 3 games, I'll start talking playoffs. I'll start talking wild card again. But until it's 3 games, I think we've got to continue to focus on the future, continue to focus on the big picture questions about this San Francisco Giants team, who holds a place on this 2026 roster, what you would like this team to do with Buster Posey and Zach Manassian this offseason, what changes you would like to see made. What do you do with Rafael Devers, Bryce Eldridge, Dom Smith, the glut of talent over at first base? Do you bring Dom Smith back? Do you play him in the outfield some? All sorts of questions for the Giants to consider. 415-808-KNBR is the number. We're going to go out to Todd in Fresno. Todd in Fresno. You're on KNBR. Todd, how's it going this afternoon?
It's in Fresno. It's hot.
No doubt about that. I forgot that it would be so hot out there. I mean, it's a beautiful day here in San Francisco and in Daly City where the studios are, but it's like 70 degrees for us.
Well, yeah. Well, back in the day, that's where the Giants got all their tough guys, such as Will Clark, Mike Aldretti, Matt Williams. All those guys played here in Fresno.
Yeah, that's right. So, Fresno Grizzlies, long tradition.
Yes. Yep, they learned it. Hey, anyway, kind of the thing I've always been saying, and I've been coaching high school baseball for a long time and junior college, but kind of thing I've been saying because of that park. Can't do anything about that park. The park's beautiful, but the whole idea of moving fences in. I mean, they don't play in a bandbox like most of the parks in Major League Baseball today, which is producing all these home runs. I mean, they're very small parks. They need to have a philosophy that really values batting average, values guys getting doubles.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. And not striking out so much. And I really think, look, they've got their guys, as far as if you want to talk power guys, they've got their guys in Devers, Chapman, and Adames. You got 3 guys there that are going to probably hit at least 20 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
The other guys have just got to be on base. Young Ali hit those 6 home runs early in the year, and his swing was a pop fly swing. And when he starts flattening his bat out, he gets on base.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take. And then the pitching side of it too, they need to look for more guys like a Logan Webb, who's got a very clean delivery, and he's going to take the game to the 7th inning at least. And stop thinking I only need 5 out of this guy, because you're just wearing out a bullpen.
Oh, absolutely.
Those guys are going to get injured just like this. And that's going to the I just need this guy to go 5 innings. It's not good for your bullpen, and I don't think it's an advantage too as far as facing hitters. These hitters get to see these relief pitchers as much as they do starters now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's kind of my point on that.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And the model, in my opinion, Todd, quite honestly, is the Toronto Blue Jays. Giants saw them right after the All-Star break up at the Rogers Center. The Blue Jays are 21 games over 500, and they have the highest team batting average in Major League Baseball. They don't have a ton of power hitters on that team. In fact, no one on that ball club has more than 24 home runs right now. But what they do is they put the ball in play. They play on a turf field. The ball rolls to the wall. You get a bunch of doubles. You put pressure on your opponents. And then 3 starting pitchers over 150 innings right now in Kevin Gossman, Jose Barrios, and Chris Bassett. That's the recipe for me.
No, I think you're 100% right. You know, I kind of even think back to the 80s St. Louis Cardinals that when they ran like deer, and they had the Giants obviously had battles with them, that fist fights with those guys. But you know, you have to. They've been terrible at home this year. I mean, they got a little bit of run going, but for the most part, that's really been the key of why they've fallen so far out of grace. Is that it didn't matter who they played at Oracle. It seemed like the other team have been playing there as their home field.
Yeah.
And it's really killed them. And if I could say anything, it just. Let's change the fly. Not to mention Barry Bonds and Will Clark, 2 of the best hitters in our generation that we've seen. They are with that. They can really help those guys. I'm not saying that they're going to retool Adames or somebody like that, but at least the younger players coming up.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Thank you for the phone call, Todd. Appreciate those thoughts. And
You got it.
I do think that there's a lot to be said for what Todd just discussed in Jung-Hoo Lee changing his approach, and you're not seeing him try to hit the ball in the air nearly as much. See a lot more line drives. That's why he's been better during the second half of the season. He looks a lot more comfortable at the plate. He's handling velocity. And you saw the walk-off on Thursday against Palencia, the Cubs closer. 100 miles an hour, and Jung-Hoo Lee was able to turn it around and rip it into right field. He was not trying to swing for the fences. The home run total is at 7 right now. You don't need him to get to 10 for him to be a productive player for you. He's going to hit you 30 doubles. He's going to hit 10 triples at Oracle Park, and you need him running around the bases, putting speed on the base pass and putting pressure on opponents. And I do think there's a lot to be said for changing the approach of players like Casey Schmidt, of Luis Matos, and having them make more contact. Both of these guys came up through the minor leagues as contact-first players, and I think that both of them can really fit into the Giants' long-term plans if they cut their strikeout rates a little bit. Matos, through the early years of his minor league career, was really contact-heavy, so much so that he was expanding the strike zone a little bit too much. But now that he's got the strike zone more dialed in, I think if he takes a little bit back, dials back that power and makes more contact, looks to go the other way more, he's got the capability of, if he plays 130, 140, which I don't necessarily foresee for him, but if he does, he'll probably hit 20 home runs. But the goal with Matos, player of his stature, player of his speed, should be 30 doubles, 35, 40 doubles. That, to me, would be an ideal scenario. And I think the same is true of Casey Schmidt. We've seen his numbers come down in recent days. Average sitting at 239, OPS at 711. And those numbers, not all that long ago, were sitting around 255 and 750. And I think for Schmidt, getting the average consistently up over 250 on an annual basis, that would tell you that he's seeing the ball better. That would tell you that he's making more contact. I think he's got the gap-to-gap approach, and sometimes he tries to pull the ball in the air so hard, yank the ball to left field so hard that he sacrifices a little bit, swings through too many pitches, and the strikeout rate is a little too high right now. So that's some of the things that I would like to see the Giants work on next season. There's so much that this team needs to do, needs to recalibrate, needs to focus on. And I think that they've got to learn to play at their home ballpark and do so more effectively because, as Todd, our last caller, just said, you're not changing Oracle Park. It is a beautiful ballpark. The Giants won 3 World Series there. They have won more than half their games at home in 20 of the 25 seasons they played on the shores of McCovey Cove. And figuring out how this team, this roster, the prospects coming through the farm system can ultimately win at Oracle, that is a huge, huge key for this ball club. 415-808-KNBR is the number. I'm Kerry Crowley, rolling with you until the start of today's game. Carson Seymour goes for the San Francisco Giants. ERA a little lower than I anticipated. Seymour has dropped this number in recent days. A 3.74 earned run average. He's pitched largely out of the bullpen, but this will be a bullpen game for a San Francisco Giants team that's just run out of starting pitching. Landon Roop likely done for the season. He's opposed today by Trevor Rogers, left-hander for the Baltimore Orioles, who's been really good since returning from the IL. Trevor Rogers, 7-2 on the year, but a 1.40 earned run average. Hard to believe that Baltimore didn't make a move involving Rogers at the trade deadline. This was a team that was headed nowhere. I would have to imagine that Rogers commanding significant interest. Let's go to Bob in Redwood City. Bob in Redwood City, you're on Giants Warm-Up. Bob, how's it going this afternoon?
It's going pretty good. Thanks for having me on. I heard that you and your last caller talk about making changes to the stadium. I guess the coach down in Fresno, he was saying they can't change the stadium. But one of my things is I'd love to see the Giants really make make genuine changes to that place so that kids can hit. I think a lot of these guys coming up from, Dominican Republic and Venezuela or warmer places come to, San Francisco and have to deal with June and July and early August, and their hitting is, gone. And I know you can say other players in the past have been able to hit, but I just think it's different now. And I think it's hard to hit. So, I'd make changes, bring home plate out, maybe 10 feet, get rid of Triples Alley. It's where home runs.
You're breaking my heart. You're breaking my. It's like this is the best ballpark in the country. They've won 3 World Series titles. 3 World Series titles in 25 years. They figured out how to win here.
No. It's the most beautiful park. How many times have you heard during a ball game that would have been a homer in 27 other parks?
And how many times did the Giants build World Series rosters around pitching and defense? 3 in 25 years. That's a pretty good rate.
But it's a lot harder when the kids can't hit. I mean, it's just they got lightning in a bottle, and they had Buster Posey. He knows how to hit low, and the kids are different. You're not going to get that. You're not going to find all the pieces they need. Everybody's got to be able to be a doubles hitter. But they could put a wall up on the right side, make it really tall. Paint it green and call it, El Grande, Verde Monstro.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and close the place. I mean, really.
It's not happening.
I know something's got to happen because, the June, July, early August swoon is going to happen again and again and again. And, you're just not going to, you see Devers be blown away at balls that he's raked and they don't go out. You saw, Adames. I remember one time, he was just like, that didn't go out. You could just see it, It's got to change.
Look, I understand where you're coming from, but I think this is a huge amount of recency bias here. I don't think we can base ballpark changes off of poor performance in 7 of the last 8 years. I don't.
I just, it's not happening. So it's my take. The place is cold. Place is cold. Some way to make it less windy. You can change that place. Yes, it's the most beautiful park. It's just nobody can hit home runs, and ball players are not going to say anything bad about it if they're playing in the pros. They're just going to. Okay, I'm in the pros. I got a contract. I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm moving along. But deep down,
I don't.
I
have zero opinions. Like I am famous among the KNBR hosts for not really feeling passionately about anything. I feel very passionately the ballpark should stay the same. That's like my one thing that I hold on to.
I respect it. I
respect your call too.
Done.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Bob.
I'm done.
Thank you so much
right,
for the contribution. I appreciate that. 415-808-KNBR is the number. We got to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll continue to go out to the phone lines. You're talking Giants warm up. Kerry Crowley here, getting you set for Giants baseball on the Sports Leader.
Bivens to the plate. The broken bat bouncer, third base side, hit slowly. Charged by Chapman on the run. Jump pivot, throws to first. He got him.
Wow.
Matt Chapman. And he made a couple of excellent plays and made them look both easy.
Nobody plays a deeper third base in baseball, and nobody comes in on a ball better than Matt Chapman. And that was just a brilliant play. We say wow a lot with him, and we said it again tonight.
Giants fans, first pitch isn't too far away as KNBR's Giants warm-up continues on the sports leader.
Kerry Crowley back here with you on Giants warm-up. A pleasure to be hanging out with you Saturday afternoon of Labor Day weekend. It is beautiful in the city by the bay. Giants first pitch coming up at 4:15 p.m. Pacific time. Carson Seymour will throw it. Trevor Rogers opposes him for the Baltimore Orioles. We're headed back out to the phone lines. 415-808-KNBR is the number. I have a feeling our last caller from Redwood City who wants to change the dimensions of Oracle Park, that may have stirred up some debate. I am passionately against that idea. Eric at the Beale Air Force Base joins us. Eric, how's it going this afternoon? Eric, you got us there?
I can't do that.
There we go. Now we got you. Now we got you.
Oh, there we are. Hey, what's up, Terry? Thanks for taking my call. Man, look, there's nothing wrong with the ballpark, right? It's about baseball. It's not about home run derby. And I don't want to cater a ballpark just to try to attract guys because they want to hit the long ball. Baseball's more than that, right, Kerry? I mean, there's different ways you can score runs. When the game was incepted, right, the home run wasn't even a factor until a man named Babe Ruth came along. So let's go out there and let's go get players that can play baseball, that can hit, right, and guys that can pitch, got some defense to back up that pitching, and you know what? You're going to have success, as we witnessed with the 3 World Series in 5 years. And that being said, look at Great American Ballpark. That's a bandbox. How many World Series have they won? How many World Series have they won
since opening Great American Ballpark? None.
Right, exactly. But the Giants, they were able to get 3 in 5 because they had a team. They had a team that was built not just around the park, but it was just a well-rounded team. Pitching, defense, and timely hitting. That's what gets it done. That's how you get deep into the playoffs and possibly get some World Series.
I couldn't agree more, Eric. Thank you so much for the call. Pitching and defense. You bring up players who come through your farm system, who fit your philosophy, your ideology, and this is all going to be part of Buster Posey's mission for the next few years. It's one of the reasons you saw them draft high-contact players in this year's draft. It's one of the reasons that you're seeing them focus on pitchers who throw strikes and pitchers who get ground balls, pitchers who can win at Oracle Park. Let's go out to Greg up in Portland. Greg up in Portland, you're on Giants Warm-Up. Greg, how are you today?
Hi, Kerry. Thanks for taking the call. I wasn't going to call in until I heard that guy, say change the ballpark. I'm glad you were respectful, but you disagreed with him. And the fellow that you just spoke with, he's spot on. You might hear that my voice is a little strained. I was hoarse terribly yesterday because I was down for the last 2 games of the Cubs series. We generally come once a year. We make a pilgrimage and saw the football score, the 12-3, and then saw that great day game. That was just so exciting and well played.
Two home run day for Willie Adames, a walk-up. I mean, of all the games you could have been at Oracle Park over the last 3 months, Greg, I think you chose some pretty good ones.
Yeah, well, I looked at the schedule, and of course I was hopeful that both clubs were going to be battling for playoff position, division lead, and stuff. And of course, the Cubs seem to be kind of just locked in where they should be looking forward to October because they're a good club. And I'm with you. I'm just hoping now for what I was hoping on the 30th of March instead of here on the 30th of August, a team that has a winning record. And, they could do it. They could finish above 500. But after that, anyhow, I lost my voice, with competing with 40,000 people. but you'll like this, and being a true Giants fan. I completely worked over our buddy, the Giant Killer, Justin Turner.
Oh, yes, of course.
I was absolutely obnoxious. I was on the third base line, and I just ragged on him. And of course, I lost my voice.
That's hilarious.
But it was great. And of course, I thought the ball went off his head instead of Chapman's.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at any rate, back to the ballpark thing. It's called coaching. You have these young players. I hope you're listening, Mr. Enabler. You teach these young guys how to play small ball and hit for doubles. Whoever brought that up, that is spot on. And you talk about Bonds and Clark. Clark was a doubles guy.
Yeah,
he won the damn pennant against the Cubs on a double. It was beautiful. I've got the paper clippings still on my wall.
440 career doubles for Will Clark.
Yeah, so you teach them how to play. You use the geography and the climate of the Bay Area to your advantage.
Yep.
In the best ball, and you've got the best ballpark in the major leagues in the world, and that's what you do instead of trying to swing for the fences. Oh, come on. And that's it. So
yeah.
I got to rest I'm recovering. It was a great trip, great games. And Jung Hoo, he won. Look at how he won the game on the walk-off. And you quit swinging for the fences, Mr. Lee, and you do that.
Yeah,
because you've got that talent.
Excellent piece of hitting.
Ball player.
Excellent piece of hitting. Greg, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate your thoughts. And rest that voice up. 415-808-KNBR is the number.
Okay.
Let's go out to Steve in Granite Bay. Steve in Granite Bay, you're on Giants Warm Up. Steve, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. And the last two callers sort of stole my thunder because I was going to say that guy, the caller 3 callers ago who wants to move the plate in and build the wall in right field and all that, take away his fan card until he repents, okay?
That's a little strong. That's a little strong. Look, I disagree with them wholeheartedly, but I think you want as many fans as possible so that this team can build up the payroll.
Okay. All right. He needs to go take a Tylenol and sit down. I tell you what though, is it too much? I love the callers about whoever said, can we get some doubles hitters and change the approach and everything else? Because, for a while now, I've been looking at the Giants the last bunch of years. I'm like, where are all the guys who hit 285? Is it too much to ask to have a couple of guys on the roster who hit 300? Because I don't think it is.
I mean, how many players in Major League Baseball do you think hit 300 this year?
Probably less than 7.
Yeah, there's 4. There's 1 in the National League hitting 300.
Okay, but then I'll say at 270.
Okay, there we go.
But but if you had guys who were disciplined at the plate, and we had maybe a couple of better hitting coaches and guys to get through to these guys. And I love the fact that Jung Hoo is basically trying to hit like Ichiro, and get on base and use your speed. And, the reason you don't need to change the ballpark is the proof is in the pudding. It's because the other teams that have come in here and have beaten us have hit the ball.
Yeah.
And, and so if, it was really too bad. And it was, I think, a lot of myself included, we're in shock this year because everything went wrong all at the same time.
Exactly.
We had bonehead plays, bad pitching. There was not only no timely hitting, there was no hitting, base running errors, fielding errors, and it was a shock to the system. But Buster will get it, righted, and I still believe that 26 will be a good year, but yeah. I'm not holding my breath for this year, but thanks for taking my call.
Oh, thank you for calling in and contributing. Appreciate the phone call, Steve. Good stuff. We do have to take a break here. On the other side, we are going to read the lineups, and then we will get you to Giants pregame. So all that's coming your way right here on Giants Warm Up on the Sports Leader.
2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck it out. He got Holiday to chase a high fastball way up out of the zone. 5th strikeout for Robbie Ray.
Our KNBR Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the sports leader.
We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry Crowley getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. 4:15 first pitch this afternoon. Carson Seymour, the big right-hander, will throw it for the Giants. 0-1 on the season with a 3.74 earned run average. And he's opposed by Trevor Rogers, 7-2 with a 1.40 earned run average. Abbreviated season for Rogers, who spent much of the year on the IL. But when he has been healthy, he has been dominant. Here's how the Baltimore Orioles will set things up today out at Oracle Park. Jackson Holiday, the leadoff man, former top overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft. The second baseman has 15 home runs this season, 49 runs driven in, 13 stolen bases, a 244 average, and a 684 OPS. Jackson, the third baseman today for Baltimore, hits from the right side. 1 homer, 10 driven in, 325 average, and 807 OPS in limited opportunities for Jeremiah Jackson. Gunnar Henderson, one of the best shortstops in Major League Baseball, having a bit of a down year, but the number's still very good. The left-handed hitter has 16 homers, 59 driven in, 20 stolen bases, 277 average, and 807 OPS to pace all of the everyday regulars for Baltimore. Ryan Mountcastle, who had a huge game last night, a big right-handed power hitter, 4 homers, 27 runs batted in for Baltimore, 3 stolen bases on the year, a 258 average, and a 659 OPS for Mountcastle. Colton Cowser, the center fielder today for Baltimore. He bats from the left side, 12 homers, 30 runs batted in, 8 stolen bases, so you got to watch him, but a 215 average and a 687 OPS, not the numbers that Baltimore was anticipating. Dylan Beavers out in right field, limited opportunity. He's been good in them, though. 1 homer, 4 runs batted in, a 306 average, and a 932 OPS. Kobe Mayo over at first base this afternoon. Limited opportunities again, but 6 homers, 20 RBIs, 1 stolen base, a 189 average, and a 603 OPS for Mayo. Sam Basayo, the catcher today for Baltimore. This man just came up to the big league level, signed an 8-year, $67 million extension, and his presence means that Baltimore will likely look to trade Adley Rutschman this offseason, who's not playing right now, but Rutschman, of course, was a top prospect coming out of Oregon State, highly touted, came up with Baltimore, signed a big extension, and he's been surpassed on that depth chart by Basayo, who's the 8th place hitter. And then a man who Giants fans will recognize, Daniel Johnson, out in left field today. The Vallejo native made his season debut with the Giants earlier this year. Was ultimately designated for assignment. He's found a home in Baltimore, pitching in over there. 1 homer, 1 run driven in on the season, 2 stolen bases for Johnson. Here's how Bob Melvin is drawing things up for the San Francisco Giants this afternoon. Elliot Ramos back in the lineup after getting last night off. Left fielder has 16 homers, 57 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, a 265 average, and a 747 OPS on the year. Rafael Devers hitting second today for San Francisco, playing first base. 27 home runs on the year, 15 of those with the Red Sox, 12 with the San Francisco Giants after that June 15 trade. 91 RBIs with the Giants, 1 stolen base, a 260 average, and 858 OPS. Remember that number was at 905 when he came over from Boston. Willy Adames in that 30 home run chase continues from the 3rd spot in the order today. 24 home runs on the year, 70 runs driven in, 8 stolen bases for Adames, a 229 average, and a 736 OPS. He's been really one of baseball's hottest hitters at the shortstop position since the All-Star break. Cleanup man today for Bob Melvin's club is Matt Chapman. The third baseman has 18 homers, 50 runs driven in, a season interrupted by injuries, including the hand issue that's landed him on the IL twice since June. 9 stolen bases for Chapman, a 232 average, and a 774 OPS. Wilmer Flores, today's designated hitter against Trevor Rogers, who throws from the left side. Flores has 14 homers, 64 runs batted in, a stolen base, 245 average, and a 695 OPS. Hard to believe that number has come down so much since the hot start of the season that Flores had in April and May. Casey Schmidt gets the call in the 6th spot in the order today for Melvin's club. Second baseman has 9 homers, 30 runs driven in. He's been a bit of a cold spell, 239 average, and a 711 OPS as those numbers have taken a dip over the last week. Jung-Hoo Lee in center field this afternoon. He will play in the 7th spot in the order. 7 homers, 48 runs batted in, 10 stolen bases for Lee. The walk-off hero from Thursday's game against the Chicago Cubs has a 260 average and a 730 OPS. Luis Matos back in the order, and why not? 4 hits last night, including a home run. Matos as hot as anyone during the 6-game win streak for the San Francisco Giants. He's got 8 homers on the season, 20 runs driven in, 4 stolen bases, a 222 average, and the OPS all the way up to 728. I think that number's come up well over 100 points in the last week. That's how hot Matos has been. And Pat Bailey gets the afternoon off. Andrew Kisner is behind the plate. Kisner, a good receiver back there. Just one home run. It came at Dodger Stadium earlier this season. 3 runs driven in for the Giants on the year, a 188 average and a 485 OPS. The number's not nearly good enough, but the Giants have largely neglected the backup catcher spot this year with Tom Murphy spending the entirety of the season on the injured list. Here's an update today for the San Francisco Giants. They won 15-8 last night, so they are 67-68 on the season. We'll give you scores around Major League Baseball in just a moment after noting that one. Games in action right now. The Rays lead the Washington Nationals 4-1. Griffin Jax, former Twins reliever, on the mound right now for Tampa as they're trying to close things out in the bottom of the 8th inning. Runners at the corners right now for the Nats as they're threatening. Middle of the 6th inning in Queens, where the Marlins hold an 8-6 advantage over New York Mets. That's one to keep an eye on for Giants fans who, those of you holding to an outside hope at the playoffs, the Mets need to fall apart for that to happen. They're 11 games over 500. They won last night. Jonah Tong making his Major League debut. But the Mets right now trailing 8-6 in the middle of the 6th inning in Queens. Bottom of the 6th inning at Fenway Park, where the Red Sox are down 9-2 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Red Sox are threatening right now, but they got a long way to go to come back in that one. Another one has just started in Philadelphia, Citizens Bank Park, where the Phillies and the Braves are going at it. 0-0 right now. Christopher Sanchez on the hill against Jurickson Profar at the moment. Sanchez, a top Cy Young contender in the National League. It'll probably go to Paul Skeens, but if he falters at all in the month of September, Christopher Sanchez will become the odds-on favorite to win that award. Logan Webb, he might be able to finish 3rd in the voting this year. We do have one final to tell you about. Milwaukee Brewers, they picked up where they left off before playing the San Francisco Giants. They've gotten hot again. 4-1 winners over the Toronto Blue Jays. Good series there up in Toronto at the Rogers Center. Brewers now 85-52 as Aaron Ashby gets the win. Jeff Hoffman takes the loss. Abner Uribe gets save number 4 for Milwaukee. We've got Giants pregame for you on the other side. All the bells and whistles, diamond notes around the park, conversation with Bob Melvin, and so much more. I am Kerry Crowley. A pleasure to be with you this afternoon on Giants Warm-Up. I'll be hanging around a little bit longer for your diamond notes and your conversation with the Giants broadcaster. I believe it's Mike Kruger today right here on KNBR, the sports leader.